In my previous A7R II video, I said this about the batteries. Battery life on this camera, it's not good. I think I've misspoken. Let's get into it. For those of you returning, welcome back. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Malcolm. I'm a hobbyist photographer and videographer. Today we're going to be talking about this little guy right here, the Sony W-Series battery. I talked to you about basically how this battery just wasn't a very good battery. Now, I kind of stand behind that statement and saying that these batteries are pretty weak for what we ask of them. However, Sony did remedy that in the Mark III generation cameras and moving forward with the new Z battery. Currently I'm filming on an A7 III and it's got 2 Z batteries and a battery grip. I can say wholeheartedly that those batteries are significantly better than this little W series battery right here. That being said, I wanted to discuss this battery a little further with you, as well as how it pertains to the A7R II, and give you some tips and tricks how to extend that battery life. So in this video, I wanted to discuss some ways you can extend the battery life of the A7R II or the Mark II cameras, as well as how it really performs under those different conditions. Old information out there on YouTube from when these cameras were new. There are certain settings you can turn off or turn on to help extend the battery life. In my testing, I found most of it to be minutes. I'll tell you how I tested this. It took several nights, but I only used my #1 battery. I own 4 of these. They're all numbered 1 through 4. How I would charge it is I'd put it on the wall charger, let it charge till all the green lights on this particular charger lit up, went off. Then I'd remove the battery. I'd reinsert it at that time. It would try to charge the battery. It would find it's full, wait till the lights go out, and I would consider that a full battery. Now, one thing I want to make very clear, this is probably a 5-year-old battery. So the first test I did was comparing using the video monitor versus the viewfinder. I chose to run the test in video mode. I set the camera in 4K 24p with the 55 Zeiss on it, set it there to record, only turning it off for recording, turning it back on to bypass the 30-minute time limit during the test. In that test, running the monitor versus the viewfinder, I got a total record time of 48 minutes before the battery was exhausted, running just the monitor. When I ran the exact same test with the viewfinder on and left the viewfinder on completely, I got only 40 minutes. Now this test is the most significant difference between all the settings we're going to discuss. My conclusion is that the original information out there on YouTube is correct, that the monitor uses less power than the viewfinder. And that is interesting because you wouldn't think that, but that is the case. The next test I did was the settings on or off comparison. So what settings do you change to affect the battery life on the A7R II? The first setting you're going to have you go into is airplane mode. You're going to want to run this in the on position to try to save battery. What that does is it basically shuts off the camera's Wi-Fi and transmission. The next major setting difference we're going to go into, you're going to want to go into this menu with the little gear, pre-autofocus, and it's on page 3. You want to turn pre-autofocus to the off position. With pre-autofocus on, the camera will automatically hunt and grab focus no matter what it's looking at. Those are the 2 major settings I would say you need to adjust depending on your workflow. Everything else after that really is going to depend on whether or not you need the feature or not. The next setting we're going to talk about, we're going to go in here to our menu. We're going to go all the way over to the little suitcase on top. The first setting in the suitcase we're going to want to adjust is going to be totally dependent on your needs and situations. It's going to be your monitor brightness. These down here, this power save start time is also another one. You want to maximize your battery life, have the camera go to sleep the moment you're not doing it. I would run the battery at 1 to 2 minutes. The next setting you're going to want to look for is this remote control. You have it on because you're using one of these. And this is the Sony camera remote control that allows me to control the camera. Like I can zoom digitally with it, hit start, stop, record. I can go into the menus, I can change things, and this allows me to operate my camera while it's a little further away from me. Makes it really easy. If you're not using it, you want to turn that off. Okay, another setting from the gear menu on page 4 is your Finder monitor settings. I recommend you set up a soft key or you set up one of your custom keys to switch this from viewfinder to monitor. Personally, I don't like running it in auto. Auto for me always causes some sort of problem because the moment it's next to your shirt, if you're trying to shoot with the camera and the screen out like this, if you're really close or down low, what happens is the screen will actually shut off and you can't see it because you're next to your shirt. So like depending how bright it is and how close you are, the screen will shut off. But what that auto feature does is it activates this little sensor right on top of your viewfinder here. That little square is a little sensor that detects your eye coming up to the viewfinder to turn it on, and it goes back to auto, and it turns off the sensor, so you're not sending power to the top sensor now. Ultimately, what do you get when you switch all those settings on or off, or however you need to set them to get maximum battery life versus the minimum battery life with them? So this one was kind of shocking to me when I did the test. I've come down to the conclusion that it saves you about 3 minutes overall of battery life. So ultimately, I want to find out how well it works with just doing photos. Got the 100/400 on it, freshly charged #1 battery. Let's go out and see how it does. So I'm going to be shooting the A7R II with the 100/400 G Master on it. This lens is significantly taxing on the battery, so I'm really curious for myself exactly how long it's going to last with just one battery, how many shots I can fire off. And we're going to do strictly photography, no video with it, and we're going to have all the settings turned off. So airplane mode on. We're going to be shooting off the monitor because that was the biggest significant test, was the monitor to viewfinder test. So we want to extend that as much as we can, and we're going to see how well we do. So let's get to it. One of the last things I'm going to do with this test is I'm going to leave the camera on completely the entire time. I set the sleep timer to 30 minutes on the A7R II, so that way it shouldn't go off, and we're going to just time how long the battery actually lasts if you just leave the camera on, ready to shoot the whole time. So we're going to start the time right now. It is 12:43, so the camera's coming on. I'm not going to flip it off until the battery goes dead, and that's going to call it time right there. Hopefully the ZV-1 battery here holds out because it's the only one I own. One of the last things I forgot to mention is that the monitor brightness is going to be turned all the way up because it is extremely bright, full sun day, no clouds in the sky, and since we are using the monitor, I want to be able to see it. So that's the one thing I will be doing. Now 104, I've shot 47 pictures and the battery's at 83%. It's not too bad actually. It's 1:45 right now. We've been shooting for just over an hour. I've got about 138 exposures done. Battery is currently sitting at 38%. So we've used roughly 60% of the battery in that time to shoot that many pictures. If you're a hobbyist photographer who wants to take excellent pictures and amazing photographs, the A7R II is more than capable, and the batteries are not an issue. So there's one more thing you can do to improve your battery life, and that is to run a dual battery grip. This is a Vallejo BGS3. This battery grip allows you to insert 2 Sony batteries into the camera. This little holster comes with the battery grip. It slides into the grip on the end. It has a simple twist lock to keep it secure. This threads onto your tripod mount of the battery, and this drops into the battery compartment. Don't let the W series battery deter you from making an excellent financial decision and buying an A7R II over an A7R III in my mind. The A7R II, to this day in 2021, is still an incredibly valid camera. It'll be a valid camera for many years to come still. If you found this video useful, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next video, guys. Talk to you later.